Crime down for 2020, but sexual offenses on the rise, and the National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee working to finalize an operational plan to distribute vaccines. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tyler Simonet with your JCN News for this Monday, January 18th. Crime was down for 2020 during the Commissioner of Police Paul Rowe's annual Meet the Press conference at the Paul Farquharson Conference Center this morning. He revealed these statistics and says overall crime for the year 2020 decreased by 16%, with 4,243 cases when compared to 5,042 in 2019. Crimes against a person decreased by 21%, with 712 incidents when compared to 914 in 2019. Homicides also decreased according to the Commissioner, although there was an increase at the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021.
Homicides decreased by 23%, with 73 incidents compared to 95 incidents in 2019. This is the least amount of persons killed in a year in the Bahamas in 15 years. We have recorded a constant decline in homicide since we peaked in 2015 when we recorded 145 murders. There were 59 murders in New Providence, 9 in Grand Bahama, and 5 in the Family Islands. Victims between the age of 18 and 35 represented 62% of all homicides. Retaliation and conflicts were the most common motives for murders, representing 54%. Homicides were more prevalent in the Southern Division, which accounted for 16% of the overall total.
Fatal gunshot wounds remain the leading cause of death, accounting for 57 incidents, and the police were able to solve 75% of all murder cases.
We have seen a recent spike in homicides at the end of the year last year and at the beginning of this year. These could be related to the seasonal impacts, the loosening of restrictions on lockdown, and changes in police activities as more emphasis was placed on social distancing. Overall, we have done well, and I am extremely pleased of the sacrifices these officers continue to make in the face of much undeserved criticisms.
Also in 2020, armed robberies decreased by 41%, with 313 incidents compared to 531 in 2019. Armed robberies occurred mostly between the hours of 4 p.m. and 12 a.m. and were more prevalent in the Southeastern Division, which accounted for 18% of the overall total. Crimes against the property decreased by 15%, with 3,519 incidents compared to 4,128 in 2019. Stolen vehicles decreased by 19%, with 229 incidents compared to 283 in 2019. Housebreaking decreased by 13%, with 598 incidents compared to 684 in 2019. New Providence District accounted for 379, or 63%, of all housebreakings, most of which occurred in the Eastern Division. Despite overall crime in the Bahamas being down by 16% for the year of 2020, sexual offenses are on the rise, with a 34% increase for 2020. We learn as much from Commissioner of Police Rowe during the 2021 Meet the Press at the police headquarters this morning. Police investigated a total of 213 reported sexual offenses for the year of 2020, compared to just 159 for the time period of January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019.
These offenses included rape, unlawful sexual intercourse, and attempted rape. The investigators have noted a recent trend in sexual offense cases occurring at Airbnb rentals where parties were being hosted. Additionally, young females were being targeted via social media.
Commissioner Rowe says that the police force has already made a request to the competent authority to include Airbnbs in the COVID-19 restrictions, and that they continue to attempt to educate the younger generation about the dangers of such parties to avoid anyone being taken advantage of. Commissioner Rowe also noted that overall cases where domestic violence was a factor decreased by 39% for 2020. with 2,436 incidents compared to 2019, when 3,972 incidents were recorded. Domestic-related incidents include family relations, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, and/or friend in general. With the 2020 crime statistics in for the country, the top cop highlighted the statistics for police-involved shootings and complaints against police, which both saw low numbers. Here's our Laurentia Smith with more details.
With an overall reduction in crime in the country, there's also a reduction in police-involved shootings and complaints against police officers. Commissioner of Police Paul Rowe revealing this much during the 2021 press briefing of the crime stats for the year.
Police-involved shootings. There were 20 incidents of police-involved shooting incidents during 2020, resulting in 11 deaths and 11 non-fatal injuries. 10 of the fatal injuries are before the coroner's court, and one police sergeant was charged before the magistrate court in the other one.
Commissioner Rowe adds that in 2 of the non-fatal matters, officers saw disciplinary action. 2 notable police-involved shootings that occurred were June of last year, when a police shot and killed 3 men near Spikenard Graveyard off Cowpen Road. The other in October, where a former police sergeant was accused of fatally shooting a man in Exuma. Now, despite the claims on social media that officers abuse their powers, there is a significant drop in complaints by some 2%.
Complaints against police. In 2020, we recorded a decline of 2% in complaints against police from members of the public, with 149, as opposed to 152 complaints in 2019. This is the lowest amount of complaints against police in 5 years. We peaked in 2018 with 213 complaints. 37 disciplinary cases for 2020 ended with convictions, resulting in terminations, resignations, reduction in rank, reduction in seniority, and fines. Officers in the rank from constable to superintendent were affected.
Of the complaints reported, 44 are under investigation, 21 cases were withdrawn, 30 were unfound, and 17 are pending trial. The top cop also shared that body cams were used to assist with discipline with matters involving police. When asked what the organization is doing to assist officers with their mental health, especially those in police-involved shootings, Commissioner Rowe says this.
The number of initiatives that we do to provide counseling for our officers. When officers are involved in shooting incidents, they cannot come back to work. They have to go and be counseled until the report is that they don't see any sign of PTSD or they're not suffering from any other mental issues.
Overall, the Commissioner of Police notes that officers are reminded that there are consequences for their actions. I'm Laurentia Smith for JCN News.
The National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee is currently working to finalize an operational plan to distribute coronavirus vaccines to eligible residents in the shortest possible time across the country. The Office of the Prime Minister revealing as much in its latest update on the work of the newly formed committee. JCN's Liz Bastian has the details in this report.
Recruitment of teams of vaccinators has already started. Training will begin shortly, and vaccinators will be among the first to receive vaccines once they are available in the Bahamas, and that's according to a statement released by the Office of the Prime Minister yesterday. According to that statement, in preparation for the arrival of vaccines, the National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee is currently working to finalize the operational plan to distribute the vaccine to eligible residents. Baseline surveys have already been carried out among healthcare workers and the general public. The results are helping to inform the phased distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. The committee, which was recently announced and appointed by Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Dr. Hubert Minnis, will review and guide the vaccine implementation schedules developed by the Ministry of Health's technical team as part of the monthly reports required for submission to the Pan American Health Organization, or PAHO. The vaccines selected will meet World Health Organization standards. At this time, the 2-dose regimen, which has not been approved for people under the age of 18, has met the required standards for distribution in the Bahamas. It's anticipated that anyone receiving a vaccine will receive a COVID-19 vaccination certificate, as the presentation of the certificate may be associated with travel in the future. A potential requirement is being discussed internationally. The chairman of the National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee is Special Health Advisor to the Prime Minister, Dr. Mercelin Dalregis, co-chair Ed Fields, Director of Business Development, Nassau Cruise Port Limited, and committee members include retired nurse Stephanie Dean, Mr. Carol Sands, Lowe's Wholesale Drug Agency, Bishop Dalton Fernandez, Bahamas Christian Council President, Archdeacon Keith Cartwright, Dr. Danny Davis with the Ministry of Health, Dr. Marcella Elliott Ferguson of the University of the Bahamas, Mrs. Vienna Gardner of the Office of the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit, and Ms. Erica Wells Cox, Director of Communications, also of the Office of the Prime Minister. Health Minister Renard Wells recently noted that the Bahamas has already made a down payment to secure enough doses to vaccinate 20% of the population through the COVAX facility once available. Communication on the process for receiving the vaccine will begin after the vaccine arrival dates are confirmed. For JCN News, I'm Lissy Bastien.
You're watching JCN News. When we return, Opposition Deputy Leader calling for more clarity on the government's decision to cut funding to capital projects. PPC expressing their support for the announcement of a sovereign wealth fund for the country and the national COVID-19 numbers. Stay with us.